Welcome to the mini proposal workshop. Today, we joined into Deep Funding breakout room, and there was full revelation just a few weeks ago that there exists a platform called Daolens, which is quite similar to what was actually brainstormed several weeks before we even knew about Daolens. And we have few members on board on this call too. I will stop sharing if you want to also share, and share a bit about your platform and how to use AI, and give also like a 10 or 15 minutes like introduction. And we use that as a context of if we would now rebuild that or continue to integrate with that, then how would we, how strategically we should kind of set the goal for our components.
Sure, sir, sure. So instead of me giving a monologue of what can we do and all, I think I'll just show you what currently has been done so far. And through that, we can have a rough idea and context on what way we can go further and what are your feedbacks on what you want to understand from this and what you want to go ahead from this part. So I might see that some of you might have already seen our product and explored it, but just for everyone, so Daolens, what we try to do is that we have a lot of integration through which you can get your previous conversation, whether they are from Discord, Snapshot, or Discord, can be put here. And on top of it, you can have your own proposals, projects, any events that you're doing, something like today's town hall, or bounties if you're doing some kind of really specific bounties, which could be any quest that you want to do, that can be done here. But the main part is that this is something where all the context and knowledge might be shared here. You can have your own courses that you can define and do it right here all on this platform. So basically what we are trying to do is an efficient UI. But the fun part starts here that once a community have their knowledge placed here, we have this AI that we call Robin, and you can ask any kind of question within your community, uh, and it will provide you answers based on the context within this channel. So a lot of data needs to be trained yet, but just to give you a quick demo, let's say that key takeaways from the recent post. So basically, it will be reading all the recent posts and it should be giving us quick highlight of what happened recently. So it has given some quick highlight and all. Let's say that I want to now do something about these insights, and maybe I just want to do a post. So let's say that I click on create post, and now it will help me create a post, which could be like, let's help me create a proposal, or let me help create some other activity and all. So that is one part. But let's say that I want to do further thinking on this part. I might say that this is relevant to me. I might say this is not relevant to me. I can further ask Robin that can we change this to, let's say that we want to create a quick checklist of tasks based on these key takeaways that happened recently. I'm just giving different options and all various things that could happen through this AI based on any of these selected topics and all. And it can help me create a checklist of tasks. I wouldn't say that it is making sense at the moment, but I will just say that it can do it based on the information that we can do. So, for example, after reading this text, it has created this quick checklist for our community that we need to outline a plan to re-enrich DAO management platform. It will provide some examples and all. I could use this. It might be relevant. It may not be relevant. Let's remove this. Let's say that I just want to talk about behind the scenes, look at how product experiments are conducted. I don't know what kind of answer it will come, but let's say that can you create a quick poll on this? And it should help me create some kind of poll also. So basically what I'm telling you here is that if as a efficient dashboard where all the previous information that happened within the community is put here, now as a user, you have access to all the information, and this can help you more effective. Let's say doing proper discussion. Maybe it can compare between two different proposals that has come, tell you pro and cons and critiques. Maybe it can help you. Let's say that you have a very long post here, and you just want that. Can you summarize this post? It can help you save a lot of time, and it can help newcomers who join the community to gain further insights on what are the things that is happening as a bird eye, and what are the critical things that is happening within the community, and where they can participate and all. So uh, if you want, I could further experiment and show you this tool, but its simple thing is that we have just built on top of ChatGPT, and we have trained specific to any of the channel discussions that are happening, and it will give you answers based on intents and all. For example, I can say that uh, recent contributions done by Yash. Let's see, Yash Vardhan. So I just saw a name right here. I'll just search on this. I don't know what kind of answers will come right now, but it can tell you, I hope that it can tell you that these are the things that has been done. So Yashwadan has recently made a post about product experiment. See, they have done that. And it kind of provides quick context also on that part. So imagine now that your proposal have this AI where if you have received 1500 proposals, now it can help you critique each proposal. Maybe it can compare two similar proposals and tell us pros and cons. If there is some kind of payouts that are happening, it can analyze payouts, and it will tell you that these are the relevant thing, and there might be some kind of wrong things happening in this specific transactions that you are doing, or it could be anything else. Maybe it can announce your events more effectively, and it can bring right kind of people who might be interested in particular events and all. So this is something that we are trying to go forward. And in context of what TU has mentioned so far, where we fit in at current stage is that we are like in dashboard where all the information can come in one place, and this AI can help you understand further within the community and help them to have knowledge management system done in quicker, efficient way. Uh, I'm sorry if I was not able to explain it more effectively, but open for your feedback.
And now we saw an amazing platform, and all this ideation was towards something like that. And now think of this meeting right now. So because this tooling is a bit of different in a sense that that solution is trying to capture meetings. So the meeting we have right now, imagine you had this Daolens open up, you say integrate with Zoom, you have one button there, you allow access. Yes, I allow to join some bot to this call, and this call bot now described or kind of recorded all this information what she's sharing here. And we could later, after this call, of course, there is also potentiality that we could use the AI right now directly and kind of start asking them questions. But the first step for proof of concept, it is to start with something that, okay, let the bot be here and record the meeting. But once it's over, let him do like meeting notes, like Otter AI is doing already. And you can record then like that the meeting notes. Or there are like, it's one bit like once that they do like one type of meeting notes only. And then you could take these meeting notes and put it on ChatGPT and get some summaries out of that, agenda items. But imagine that you're using that platform and you don't have to do any other kind of copy pasting of information, and just say, I allow Zoom recordings, I want meeting notes, I want summaries, and you basically create a template of what kind of information you're expecting from AI, and it kind of starts pre-filling of that. And perhaps even automate that every time the meeting ends, just give me all of that because I need it anyway. And this kind of takes away that requirement that somebody in this call has to do note-taking, or that somebody has to, after call, look through the video and kind of take all of this information out, or and using the like different AIs to do that. So we got a bit of our imagination rolled up, hopefully. So the next step here, which I'm going to create a voting now on this Miro board. I will selecting 4 of these sticky notes. So these are orange ones. I'm going to give each of these sticky notes will get 1 vote, and every person will get 2 votes. And okay, let's say 3 minutes because people may take time to get into this Miro board. I'm going to share the link, and when you join, it should pop up the option to join voting. And then what you can do is you see these orange sticky notes, and you can click on them. And when you click, then it basically means you want that to start from. And our question, what we are answering is, what kind of components we should start from in order to provide sustainable open source community infrastructure that provides an AI tool to automate meeting documentation and retrieve insights. And then basically it's your direction of, I think we should need more bot examples or something that we could play around with. Or maybe it's very important for you to understand how the AI is trained and how it's being done and how many different options there are. Or perhaps it's all more important for you that we do a bit of community collaboration and kind of do more of these kinds of events to figure out and involve people, basically an ideating on how to build all of this stuff. Or it's more that you want to have this dashboard first and kind of figure out how would this integration work and how this kind of consensus is done. So what would be like the best starting point, in your opinion, in order to build this full solution? And Curtis, you have a question or hand up?
Thank you, Tivo. I just wanted to kind of add some additional context. And Tivo, you're doing an amazing job, but you're going to have your hands full at reining me in and keeping me scoped down, because I'm trying to see this at the high level in the dashboard and bringing all these tools together. But with some of my goals with this project is to get that collaboration piece and leverage some of the open source tools. So for instance, Daolens has a really, really good set of features. Everything that we kind of ideated on starts to fall under some of what Daolens is offering. How can we potentially leverage that open source material along with some of the other features we want to introduce, the consensus and governance between that DAO, the voting, the on-chain reputation, the dissemination of this information, the conversation piece? How can we aggregate those conversations from multiple sources, produce potentially a KMS so that you can query it? All these additional features could be existing open source solutions out there. So how can we establish a form of communication and collaboration between these open source communities to build a single dashboard that offers up all these potential solutions?
Thanks, sir.
All right. Oh, this is much clearer picture this time. And now we can see a little bit how we also compare to the previous sessions. But with this, I will kind of finalize that we are going through a community collaboration side. So yeah, technically this was good outcome, because usually we were like the first session, we ended up being equally on the same solutions. Second time, we were a bit all over the place, and when we kind of forced people to select something, we also ended up with community collaboration. And this time it was more clear that this is the direction we want to take. So now let's think of a strategy. So when we do community collaboration first, previously it was highlighted these two topics are the most like what we should start from. One is building trust. Another one is configuring templates, like what kind of outcome you would be expecting from the AI. But before we can go to template configurations, we need to choose the AI. And now I think it's better if you open up a bit of discussion and share on the building trust side. Does anybody has any idea how could we do that? One thing here was mentioned, reputation certificates, but it has a danger of running into power or centralization. So how could we mitigate that? Another one was the AI should be able to describe to the user how the interactions are being used. So another footnote that when we use the dashboard, the AI itself should kind of guide you on this. And when we're talking about building trust, it's about trust with other communities. And that brings us back to what Curtis shared before. Now, Daolens has this framework already built. And how could we now integrate it together with new models and new communities who want to build AIs on there? So any additional strategies or insights we could
Are we examining it on a higher level or more like a grassroots application in conjunction with a specific program or something?
Both will work.
Yeah, I actually think that's a really good question because there is two perspectives to address this situation. Are we designing and building the product, or are we talking about at a high level, how could we benefit the communities by having this conversation? And if we're talking about the product or the application itself, you know, I'm inspired a lot by solutions like GPTE from Gimbal Labs, where you get an identification and then that identification follows you around. So in this particular use case, your interaction with the community can be tracked by AI, provide observable metrics. Those metrics can translate into reputation based off of participation. It can be an optional contributor to governance. Maybe your community decides that they want to vote, but you have to have so much reputation, or your reputation is weighted within the consensus mechanism. And these are all just stacking tools on top of each other to give the communities the choice of how they want to operate their organization or their community or their DAO, but bridging all these tools together. Again, these are all existing tools currently.
Yeah, that's great there. I noted down product that tracks user actions and basically giving that on admin side an audit ability, and that auditing also then turns into reputation. And that is a way to build trust.
Yeah, just the two different perspectives are we looking at building the solution, or are we ideating on how can we collaborate as a community, and what methodologies, you know, do we need to implement to achieve these goals? Are we talking about outside of the perspective of this tool and just in general?
We can go both sides, although I think we do have a lot of elements of how the tool could be used, and perhaps not enough about how do we collaborate as a community. And if we choose community collaboration first, I think this is an important question to answer. My first example or insight would be to have these kinds of sessions, perhaps more prepared. Here is a bit more chaotic, I will say. But nonetheless, like these kinds of calls, which are designed to talk about the tools and the choices of why some directions were taken with the tools, and having like more on-call discussions, that you don't do like project management or like tooling internally, but having it also available in public spaces so that people can just listen in, and if they have something to add, then they are part of that because they are also users.
I don't understand how we community collaborate before we pick a platform or a, or a tool. But I love the idea of using avatars along with the Daolens type. I mean, that's really cool to track participation, and then you can take it with you in all of the SingularityNET spaces and your social spaces. I really love that. And then, if you're building proposal section, then it'll keep track of your time. And so I don't know how to do it without just picking a platform and starting to fix it or to change it.
Yeah, I guess like there's that perhaps making an overview by looking at which platforms overlap services and which are inoperable with others. And then there's also those kinds of case studies, I guess. I see both could be beneficial.
Another route could be to model the kinds of collaboration that we would want and then design the tools to fit that style of collaboration or that model of collaboration or some family of models of collaboration. And that'd be a way that community collaboration leads to tools rather than the other way around.
I think that's a really great way to put it. And it kind of leads into what I think about the Ambassador program as a whole in terms of aligning to a 10,000 foot view strategy. I think that's a really nice way. Cool.
So in order to make an informed decision, we have to look at all of those tools available, and where those, does that include the 4 that we heard today in the presentation?
Yes, it would. And that would mean that
The Hugging Face and Xeris and
yeah, and they are, I assume they are open source. And actually, even if they are not open source, I think what Randall mentioned, that if there are other tools, even if it's paid, could we still integrate them? Because if they are useful to the community or any one of community, why not? It includes a little cost, but that's the cost on the community side. And the platform is just there to integrate that interaction.
or just use their summary pages, read through them and see if there's something that you want to add that's out there that we haven't thought of.
So to just kind of paint a picture of where some of my thoughts are, I've been inspired, my recent inspiration has drawn me to some of these conclusions where each community has their information similar to Daolens and how they're presenting that information, that knowledge that they're being captured from within their community. There's a lot of communities that tend to partner with each other and overlap, as mentioned before, and they can establish a trust with one another and share their knowledge management system, their database, with each other. And as that grows, it can turn into an alliance. So it's a series of communities, say Swarm and Catalyst and Deep Fund come together to create this alliance where all that information is shared in a centralized place. And you can query those databases, that knowledge management. What this allows for is forming the governance that maybe multiple communities want to share. Maybe their tokenization or utility tokens. It kind of creates partnerships, collaborations.
Yeah, those could be added, as time goes by. After you make a choice on what you want in your meeting recorder.
I wonder, I'm thinking if we could do another voting here to of this information we shared out right now, to select which is the most important strategies to start with, or if we could do some more ideation around to get more examples out of it. So this would actually put us in like a even more scoped down direction of, okay, if we choose education about how to use the tools, then we know clearly that, okay, we need to do education. Now, what type of education? And we can go to detail. Or if you do has share data across teams, then I guess that would be, how would you document? And that would also come down to the educational side, but also a little bit like a tech side of how would you store that data and how do you make it shareable and also secure, and so on. I'm not going to go all these notes. Are there something that we didn't discuss that could move us into direction of how do we collaborate as community? I noticed we had the strategy discussion and we had an idea that we target specific client to support with documentation, automation, and they're like, most of these are like Cardano communities, but that doesn't really matter. Would that be a good strategy to pick one group and make their work like established? And because they're open source tools, of course, we can share it beyond that group. Or we should more be not targeting anybody, but just create the content and let people flock in as tools who see fit. But and the support level is more like not as intense.
Are we building this for us and then adding people to use it and adding what's needed in after that?
Ideally, it will be built for everybody, but with this strategy, it would have been a selected group that we see that it has a heavy use of this information, because if, for example, if we do we set up this AI tool and what Daolens shared was like proposal information. But for example, some teams don't do any proposals at all, and they have totally different organizational structure. And for them, it's it doesn't matter. But if you don't find, and if we start doing this, okay, let's make proposals, crafting very neat and with AI. But if you don't have a target audience, then it's a bit of wasted effort. Not that it's that wasted, it still has value, but if you would choose a person who already does the work manually and then automate it, it has immediate impact and proof of concept, and then it can be like shared more widely. Or does it make sense what I'm talking? Or it's better if you just pull what seems to be most valuable and go with that?
I was listening to some Catalyst stuff yesterday, and there's some tools they're building for trying to help with proposals and guide them through the process. So, yeah, there's a lot going on out there for help with proposals. So it like tracks time and data use and different social media use, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff being built for helping management of time and resources, and just basically to justify how you spent your time during a proposal and on what. But I don't know anything more than that they're being built.
If we put the AI to solve a problem of a meeting, like basically create an action items, create decision items, and create agenda items, what was discussed in this meeting or in all of these meetings, then would it matter is the topic about writing a proposal or planting trees or figuring out the next schedule of what the medical group will do next week?
I suppose we have to build it and see if it's even necessary for them to come, or if that's what you want or we want. I don't know.
There is a possibility that if we don't specialize our AI, it may not actually, may not be that useful if it's like a general information. But I think right now, that's another topic, like what kind of AI solution that will be, and that probably will define who to target that AI for.
For people who are using this new tool to try to get up to speed with meetings, is that the targeted audience? Us?
Yes, that would be one use case.
So the early designs right now are, I was hoping to build out a form, an onboarding form when they come on, and it sort of guides them through with a series of questions. How do you intend to use this? What's your intent? Are you creating blog or a document wiki style folder structure where your community can read and keep up with things? Are you trying to produce newsletter style, or are you a developer community coming together to make consensus? What are you intending to use it for? And then we would have a series of templates that would display the information how they wanted to use it. So if you're doing it for proposals, maybe there's a template for that, and the community can contribute to building these templates. If you're using it as like a DAO, then that's how we will sort of collect some of these templates together. Over time, you can customize, these templates, but trying to guide them through with a series of questions of how they maybe use this tool.
Yeah, and this brings us this template configurations, which was one of the most voted thing they needed in order to use the tools, I guess. And one of the first things I would want is to be able to get it to design a coherent agenda that matches what my group has been using. Any help you provide the structuring agendas, I would be an opportunity to dial it in. Yes, I can use that format. No, that format isn't useful. Do it this instead. Yeah, another option is training how hard that would be to train the AI on spot. So he gives you an input and I say then, no, this is wrong. Use this instead. And it will learn to use that in future in the same group.
Yeah, so you're actually introducing another feature that we're hoping to build out, is the feedback loop system. So instead of the traditional way you train a model, it's constantly being fed back. Don't have the details yet of how you would do that at the independent level. Are we fine tuning every person's use of this model? Because that would be, I think, compute intensive. Whereas if we're training a primary model with this feedback system, that seems to make more sense, but then you wouldn't get some of that customization that you're talking about, Thibaut. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure of the limitations, to be honest, right now. I mean, maybe Prapul can speak to that, but are you guys doing fine tuning?
Yes. So just to put a context, what we do here is that, let's say that on Idea Skill platform, which has been used by Cardano, let's say that we train on all the proposals that has been done so far. And all of those, we just, and we also track that which one of them was successful. So now AI can compare all these proposals and try to figure out what are the key important things that led to, let's say, a successful proposal. Like, what is the format that they followed? Was there a clarity of messages? Was there something which was more detail oriented and all? So based on that, what now could happen is that now you just need to tell Robin that, hey, I want to create a proposal on idea scale on XYZ topic. And once you say that, it will tell you that, hey, these are the 10 points that you must have uh, in your proposal, because people check or validate your product on these specific points, and these are the some sample projects that have successfully done something, so you can review these proposals also. And maybe then if there is some back data or swarm catalyst where you have done some kind of workshop and all, it can also tell you that if you want to further succeed, you should attend this workshop that TO has done. Here is a YouTube link of that. That is something where I believe AI can help uh, a person to do any kind of proposal or make a specific submission in more qualitative way, so that it helps the other members who are reviewing this. It gets their job easy, and the person is submitting. It makes their job easy also. But any point of time, I wouldn't say that it can eliminate human interaction, because even if AI is doing great, but it's not perfect yet. So it can guide you. It can give you first initial document that is a starting point, and then a human can build more qualitative work on top of it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Purple, and hopefully that can contribute to that reputation system where I agree. It's always going to require somebody to finesse it and piece it together, and that facilitation should be incentivized with maybe potentially reputation. But I guess my question does narrow down to, can we create personality profiles of the account holder? So instead of like every account sharing this information and inevitably training the model, can we train the model per account basis so that it creates a bit of a personality profile? How do they speak? How do they communicate at the independent level?
When you say per account, can you give me example? So
you share that you will have predefined and pre-trained model to give out an example. If I ask, how do I make this proposal? And then AI will give you a result. And now, as a smart man as I am, I'm like, no, AI, you're wrong. You should have answered this. And I give that information back. And now next time I ask that AI, it should answer me the way I answered it, but the effects what I did doesn't have to any other user, only maybe in my shared accounts. Would that be possible?
understood. I think that is possible, but it hasn't been done yet in our current system, but it is possible.
And is it feasible? Because what Curtis mentioned is that, well, if I say something right now, it means you automatically have to pre-train, train a new model just for that new user. But if you have 100,000 users, you will have 100,000 plus 10, if they use 10 different AIs, models for each of these users, and that could go crazy.
I need to check on this specific point on how exactly it can be executed, because how currently any AI product work is that it has one conversation thread, and in that conversation thread, you can train that AI and you can get right kind of response based on your specific needs and all. But the moment you start another thread, it kind of forgets what has been done in previous thread and all. So if there are two conversation different threads, it doesn't interact between these two. So I need to understand on this part if how we want to train this part specifically. But one way to do is that, let's say that you said that this proposal is no way I'm going to do that. And you try to create a proposal which is more aligned with what you wanted to do and how you wanted to do. Now it has been submitted, and AI has now this new point of data that it is reading on. And when you say that what kind of recent proposal has been done, is there any changes and all, it can tell you that part, that there was some new way of proposal submission that has happened and done by Chivo. That could be the thing, but it's it's highly dependent on how user asks questions and intents in this matter rather than the account part. But I need to check with my team.
Okay.
You know, that's good insight, Prapul. And I think I can even narrow it down to a specific use case. And I understand the context driven. As soon as you start a new thread, your context is lost and it needs to sort of start that conversation over. But when you're drawing from your data store or your data set and then producing some content, say there's a use case where SingularityNET, they use certain terminology more than, say, a different set of terminology, the way they communicate, different verbs, different nouns to communicate. How can it sort of use that specific data set for their account to so that it produces a response that communicates with that same style, essentially?
So one way to do is that, let's say that you want the AI to follow a certain language that SingularityNET does or follows and all. So it can do the pattern recognition if we have enough content post aligned with this. And maybe you can create this standard operating procedure kind of doc where you explain that these are the terminologies that we are following in making a proposal. These are the 10 things that we want to have and all. Now AI can build on top of those existing, let's say, posts and articles or any content, and then it can follow those terminologies for sure. Because currently our AI is more on, first it goes through the existing content and then it goes for the internet just to get more value added, but it tries to prioritize whatever is in the current forum discussion or whatever community has done so far, and then it provides an answer. So it can, yes, do as per the terminologies that exist in your community. It can do that, provided enough trained data is there to read for.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I see our numbers are going down. In order to have an effective voting, let's use this opportunity. So what I'm gonna do is, because we are scoped down to this community communication area, I'm gonna create not as perfect box. There will be some sticky notes which are popping out here. I'm gonna give now everybody 7. Actually, we have so many of these. I'm gonna give everybody 9 votes, 3 minutes, 1 vote per sticky. And what are we going to do is ignore these 3 on the top corner here and this green one in the bottom here. And what are we going to highlight is the most important elements for you that needs to be answered or considered when we do community collaboration. And this way we build ourselves a heat map of a bit of strategy where to start from when we do collaboration. It will align a bit of what previous teams have shared, what their start is, but we had some more sticky notes. So let's see, can we get some kind of representation of people from here, and which would be most important. So again, voting is similar. Now you have a bunch of these sticky notes open, and if you see that the tools used by communities, okay, that's these integrations, building trust. It's very important. You put the sticky note in that. Reputation certificates, maybe for some it is, maybe some for some is not. And everybody has 9 votes, so they can go through these sticky notes, and basically this way we kind of get the direction of where people's mind at. You guys are getting mastering the Mara board now, faster than me now. That's interesting. So almost everybody choose education about how to use these tools. So definitely education included. Learning language model. I guess most people don't know what would that even mean. And that probably requires a bit of more context. Finding other open source tools. So always being open to find new tools. Unfortunately, this one sticky note was out of the scope. So don't know if it was supposed to get beyond. What else we notice here? I guess the rest of them are trees, basically. Building trust, product track user actions, template configuration, so figuring out the models, what an AI would answer to. And all of these tragedies we brought up, every single one is basically needed. That's great insight. Thank you. With this, I will say that we did quite a bit of progress today. And so thanks for that. Does anybody want to have some closing comments on the exercises, on the discussion we had, some action items, or anything basically? This open. The floor is yours, and yes. I'll finish up with an overview after that, and then close the recording.
Yes. So what I noticed is that a lot of things that we covered today, like reputation system, knowledge management, how to do information and all, how can we convey right kind of information to people who join, onboarding and all those things. So that is something at some level we have worked on already. So what I think is they are not AI connected per se. They're more like a feature that we have already added and all. So that is just, I wanted to add it right here so that what I needed was that if any specific point, like letting people get educated about a tool or letting them educate about how to use those things and all, that is something would love to understand how it is going to be there and all. Means maybe if we can improve this part in our product, or if we can add some value in this part, or any specific that you want to have, I can further work on those features and all. But they are not connected to AI as of now, but would love to integrate that also, if that is the main key point at this point.
Yeah, I'd love to expand that relationship, because my goal here wasn't to try and create, a competitive application or tool. It's your tool is exactly a solution, and it fills a good section of what these communities need. So how can we create a relationship where we're using your tool, you're using your tool, all of our users are kind of the same, and then the open source community, the developers that are saying here's some features I would like, replicates down into your tool. And all these new features that they want, you get to choose what, now you can kind of hand select and pick what you want to integrate into your tool, but we're just leveraging the open source community at large. And how can we facilitate the integration between these different tools and solutions?
All right. Understood. That makes sense. So thank you for that. I'm just thinking out loud here on what are the priority features that I should work on and all. And I think knowledge management system is something which was recently voted as the most important feature, and how they can train new people or anyone is something that was highlighted as the key point. And let's see how we can work on that part aspect for sure. And in terms of any clear expectation that you want to have from Daolens, if that is something that we can have as in conclusion today, or is it something that could happen maybe after the conclusion of next chapter? How is it?
So how we are going to proceed with these future chapters, for example, next one is on Monday, 19 UTC, next week. And what I will see is now we have a bit of a direction that we are going to create collaboration first, educational material, standards, how to kind of operate with other teams, and a bit of strategies, how would we find new integration. And then we have this chapter called Defining Success. So now we have all of these visions, what people chose now that we should be strategically targeting for. And we would here need to basically go through this process, like, and answer the discussion, like what proposal outputs and what are proposal outputs and outcomes, considering the previous discussions we had. What is the success looks like, what are the risks, and how do we mitigate them? Here's a bit of exercise also related to Catalyst, of picking a challenge, and sustainable development goals, a bit of tool there, which can also add more insight and more depth into a proposal. Then, of course, key KPIs, what are we going to measure? How do we know that we collaborate well? Basically, KPIs, and some user experiences and all of these aspects. How big the scope will turn, and that will basically be decided as we go. But yeah, the final outcome is a full understanding of one specific solution for community collaboration under a bigger solution, a sustainable open source infrastructure.
Yeah, nice meeting, guys. Yeah, really exciting. It's nice. It's great discussions that we're having. Yeah, nice one.
And Kamara, do you also want to have final comment?
I don't really have much to say at this time. I feel like I'm still learning. For me, it feels like the Miro board, a framework for brainstorming and coming to decide on what tasks are in priority sequence seems a little bit overwhelming and a little bit chaotic to me, but it may just be that that's the way my mind works, and I just gotta wrap my head around it a bit. So I'm just gonna keep learning. Thank you so much for presenting and for showing me this, and I'll strive to learn and understand more as to what's going
on. Thank you. I am aware that this kind of sessions should be more prepared, but it's like so many hours went into it, we already felt that it doesn't matter how much we prepare, it was so hard to kind of actually find the direction. So this group today was actually marvelous, because we actually did get somewhere progressed to some direction compared to the grindholes where we left in the last sessions. Well navigated chaos, I would say. All right, with this, Miro proposal workshop ends, and I would conclude that we finished our scoping for the solution, which to start from, and we ended up with community collaboration side, where we even went further today to even highlight the direction, which would be the most important aspects to cover when we discuss about community collaboration. See you in the future sessions. We are now 20% done.